Alright, first off, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bashem Yahushai, Bashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. Shalom to the brothers in the highways and byways pushing this word in all sincerity and truth. The sisters, the believers, the helps, the hopeful elect. Shalom. This is the brother Irawam from James Jamaica Camp, coming with another quick lesson. And hopefully this is part one of a few lessons that I'll be doing on times when our people called upon Yahweh Bashem Yahushai when the temple or the nation was under threat. All right, and as we were going through at camp the other day, on Saturday, we're going through the fact that in the past, not only the heathen were enemies or threat to our people and our nation, but at times you also had those that are of our own nation that also caused harm to come to the people, or were the source of the threat to our people. Now this is account from 2nd Maccabees chapter 3, and pretty much it starts off explaining how the land was in peace, and then you had Simeon, who was a Benjamite who wanted to be governor. So he pretty much went to the heathen king and told them of some money, and the whole nation was under threat, and how the Lord actually delivered us. All right, the temple was also under threat as well. So just gonna get straight into it, and then hopefully this is edifying. So the first precept is 2nd Maccabees chapter 3 verse 4. It says, "But one Simeon of the tribe of Benjamin was made governor of the temple." So let me just read that one. It says, "But one Simeon of the tribe of Benjamin, who was made governor of the temple, fell out with the high priest about disorder in the city. And when he could not overcome Onias, he got him to Apollonius, the son of Thrace, who then was governor of Cilicia and Phoenice, and told him that the treasury in Jerusalem was full of infinite sums of money, so that the multitude of their riches, which did not pertain to the account of the sacrifice, was innumerable, and that it was possible to bring all into the king's hand." So you see right here, just because he had a grudge against Onias, he pretty much invited a threat to our people, right, by saying that, look, we had money that we could take to the king. Right? Verse 7 says, "Now when Apollonius came to the king and showed him of the money whereof he was told, the king chose out Elidorus his treasurer, and sent him with a commandment to bring him the foresaid money. So forthwith Elidorus took his journey under a color of visiting the cities of Cilicia and Phoenice, but indeed to fulfill the king's purpose. And when he was come to Jerusalem, and had courteously received of the high priest of the city, he told him what intelligence was given of the money, and declared wherefore he came, and asked if these things were so indeed." All right, so pretty much he inquired of the money that was stole, and this was the response. Verse 10 says, "Then the high priest told him that there were such money laid up for the relief of widows and fatherless children, and some of it belonged to Hyrcanus, son of Tobias, a man of great dignity, and not as the wicked Simeon had misinformed, the sum whereof in all was 400 talents of silver, and 200 of gold. And that it was altogether impossible that such wrongs should be done unto them that had committed it to the holiness of the place, and to the majesty and the inviolable sanctuary of the temple, honored over all the world." So you're saying that, look, to take this money and to give unto you would be, pretty much you violating the temple. Right? Verse 13 says, but Helidorus, because of the king's commandment given him, said that in any wise it must be brought into the king's treasury. And that's where the trouble lies, because once you're going to come against the temple of the Most High, you're going to actually want to take things of the temple of the Most High, then there's going to be trouble. And of course that would have definitely put the people on edge. If you think about the geopolitical standpoint of the time, as well as the culture, this could have definitely caused a war. This could have easily caused people to be killed, because to give up that money would be a disrespect to the temple. And you had men in Israel that would have been willing to fight for that. And not only that, let's say that they do give in to the heathen, then it's going to turn on the judgment of the people, right? Because Yahweh Hashem Yahushua would actually judge the people for not having faith in him, which all praises, they actually prayed unto the Lord, and pretty much we're going to hear how it worked out. Now I'm going to jump a few verses, and so when the people realized that the high priest was pretty much upset about what's taking place, this happened. It says, others ran flocking out of their houses to the general supplication, because the place was like to come into contempt, right, which I just explained. And the women, girt with sackcloth under their breasts, abounded in the streets, and the virgins that were kept in ran, some to the gates and some to the walls, and others looked out the windows. So pretty much everyone was bringing themselves low. It was very tense, because once again this was something very serious, right? It says, and all, holding their hands toward heaven, made supplication. Then it would have pitied a man to see the falling down of the multitude of all sorts, and the fear of the high priest being in such agony. Right? So this was pretty much a great thing. This was a delicate situation. This was something that was very, very serious, and it was it could cost a lot, right? And not physically, but sorry, not monetarily, but just an overall very scary situation, defying the word of the king and such, like as I explained earlier, right? Verse 22 says, they they then called upon the Almighty Yahweh Bashem Yahushai to keep the things committed of trust safe and sure for those that had committed them. Nevertheless, Helidorus executed that which was decreed. So he decided that, look, I'm definitely gonna have to take this money, right? It says, now as he was there present himself with his guard about the treasury, the Lord of spirits and the Prince of all power caused a great apparition, so that all that presumed to come in with him were astonished at the power of the Most High, and fainted, and were so afraid. So the Lord pretty much sent an angel to basically withstand them, and those that were of his guard were very so afraid that some of them fainted, and they were very, very afraid. Now, seeing that Helidorus decided that he was bold enough to continue to go in, let's see what also happened. Verse 25 says, for there appeared unto them an horse with a terrible rider upon him, and adorned with a very fair covering, and he ran fiercely and smote at Helidorus with his forefeet. And it seemed that he that had sat upon the horse had complete harness of gold. Moreover, two other young men appeared before him, notable in strength, excellent in beauty, and comely in apparel, who stood by him on either side, and scourged him continually, and gave him many sore stripes. So pretty much, to defy the king would have been crazy. But what did they do? They didn't try to take matters in their own hands. They called upon the Lord. And as you can see here, the Lord pretty much sent help, and Helidorus started to be beaten with stripes. Verse 27 says, and Helidorus fell suddenly onto the ground, and was compassed with great darkness, but they that were with him took him up, and put him into a litter. Thus him that lately came with a great train, And with all his guard into the said sanctuary, they carried out, being unable to help himself with his weapons, and manifestly they acknowledged the power of the Most High. And that's the thing, they had weapons, they came in with great pomp, they came with in all highness, right? Both in apparel, both in, they're coming to the to fulfill the king's word. So they thought that they were mighty, but all that they came to collect, and all the guard that he had with him, with all the weapons that they had, could do nothing. And it's the same thing in the times to come. Esau will definitely outmatch us in regards to gear, but we'll definitely have the advantage if we call upon Yahweh Hashem Yahushai and have faith in in his salvation, right? In all situations. And that's a spirit that we all need to pray for. Right, verse 29, it says, "For he by the hand of God was cast down and lay speechless without all hope of life. But they praised the Lord that had miraculously honored his own place, for the temple, which a little afore was full of fear and trouble, when the Almighty Lord appeared, was filled with joy and gladness." And that's the thing, in these coming times, of course we're going to be afraid. The flesh naturally is going to fear, right? Our flesh is naturally going to fear, but that's why we have to pray for the strength of spirit, a strong spirit to endure all that's coming, and to pray for pray to abide in the fear of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, and pray that our faith be increased, so we'll be able to stand, despite us being afraid, because just as all the people feared, the Lord actually came through, and that all that trouble of the enemy, or fear of the enemy, was turned into gladness as they were conquered. Right, verse 31 says, "Then straightway certain of Helidorus' friends prayed Onias that he would call upon the Most High to grant him his life, who lay ready to give up the ghost. So the high priest, suspecting lest the king should misconceive that some treachery had been done to Helidorus by the Jews, offered a sacrifice for the health of the man." All right. Continuing, right, it says, "Now as the high priest was making an atonement, the same young men in the same clothing appeared and stood beside Helidorus, saying, Give Onias the high priest great thanks, in so much as for his sake the Lord had granted thee life. And seeing that thou hast been scourged from heaven, declare unto all men the mighty power of the Most High. And when they had spoken these words, they appeared no more." And that's the thing. At the end of this all heathen, all nations, starting with Esau, Edom, they're going to acknowledge the power of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. They're going to acknowledge Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, and they're going to know that, the elect, and ultimately the nation of Israel are his people. And they're going to know not to mess around. Just as how you see that Helidorus was pretty much humbled and scourged from heaven. These heathen are going to be scourged from heaven nonetheless, and the unbelievers of our people, the rebels, will be purged. All right. Now I'm going to jump down. Let me continue. Right, the end of this is pretty good. It says, "So Helidorus, after he had offered sacrifice unto Yahweh, and made great vows unto him that had saved his life, and saluted Onias, returned with his host to the king. Then testified he to all men the works of the great power which he had seen with his eyes. And when the king Helidorus, I think this should be asked, I'm not sure if there's a bug in the app. And when the king Helidorus asked Helidorus who might be a fit man to be sent yet once again to Jerusalem, he said, If thou hast an enemy or a traitor, send him thither, and thou shalt receive him well scourged." He learned that firsthand. "If he escape with his life, for in that place no doubt there is a special power of the Most High. For he that dwelleth in heaven had his eye on that place, and defended it, and he beateth and destroyed them that come to hurt it. And the things concerning Helidorus and the keeping of the treasury fell out on this sort." And that's the thing, the last part here says what? "For he dwelleth in heaven, and his eyes on that place," Now, we are people before we are placed, and currently we're not in the land. But we being this, the New Jerusalem, us being, the temple of the Most High, if Esau or the heathen or even two-thirds of our people try to come up against it, we will be defended, right? It says, and defended it, and he beat it and destroyed them that come to hurt it. So, just like the Lord had, defended, physical Jerusalem, physical Israel in the time when we were in the land and the land was holy. Us of the hopeful elect, we will be defended once we stick to Yahweh Shem Yahushai. All right. So we be in the spiritual temple, we be in the New Jerusalem, we will be defended as after in times of old when the temple was defended and the people were defended. So with that, hope this was edifying. Once more, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, Bashem Akakwadash, double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who ruled well. Shalom to the brothers and highways and byways pushing this word in all sincerity and truth. The sisters, the believers, the helps, the hopeful elect. Shalom.